Boker Or, Masechet Nedarim Daf Yomi 43a1 says the Mishnah, right? This is the Mishnah in the few lines down. Amarlo hashileni paratecha, ve'amarlo ena pnuya. Imagine a person comes and he tells his friend, "Lend me your para." Yeah, give me your para. So Amarlo, he comes and he says, "Ena pnuya." Sorry, it's not. It's busy. Yeah. So now what happens? He gets angry. Now since he gets angry, Amar. Kunam sadi shani choresh ba leolam. What does that mean? He comes and he says that the neder is that he should not use this para forever. Yes, he kasalav because he didn't lend him the thing. Yeah, so what happens? Imayadar kol lacharosh hu asur vechol adam mutarim. He says if this person is shoel, he used to do it himself, so he's not allowed to come and to be choresh tasadeh. He's not allowed to plow the field, but everybody else is going to be allowed to come and to plow the field. Why? Because it was only his charisha which was permitted. Because he says, "Kunam sadi shani choresh ba leolam." So therefore, he's not allowed to. With the cow. But he says, but if he himself does not do it, and he always does it with workers, so hu v'chol adam asurim. So then nobody's allowed to come and to plow this field. But since it's not the derech for him himself to do it, for sure the kavanah was on the workers, and therefore he v'chol adam asurim lachosh ba letzorko, in order that he shouldn't benefit from the charisha. Imagine a person comes and he was mudar ana'ah from his friend and he has nothing what to eat. Now what happens is the mudar, right? He has rahmanut, so he wants to give him to eat. But how does he give him to eat without going over the neder? So it says over here, holechet zel chenvani. He goes to the storekeeper and he tells him, "Ish ploni mudar mimeni ana." Then you say, "I don't know what to do with him." So what happens is the storekeeper comes. He's going to give him, right, let's say the food or whatever it is, and then the storekeeper, right, yes, and then right, storekeeper, he keeps the store. This is his store, and then he's going to come and he's going to take it from him. So therefore, you're doing like a third party, which is going to become permitted. What happens if he had to build his house? He doesn't have money. Now what happens? Or he needs to be goder ageder. Right? He has to put a fence. Right? So what happens? He comes and he says, he has to reap his field. So what happens is that he basically gives them like a hint. They come, they go, they do everything, and then they come to him and they collect the money from him. That's what's happening. Okay? Another case. So what happens? Let's say they're walking the path. So again, he's mudar ana. It's interesting, all these cases. He's mudar ana and he's walking with him. Right? So what happens? He doesn't have what to eat. So what does he do? He comes, he gives it to the third party, right, as a present. And then he's allowed to come and he's allowed to eat it. There's nobody there. It's only them two. And they're both walking together. So what happens? Right? You put it on the sela or la gader. And you're going to say, right? You could come and you could make it hefker to anybody that they want. And the other one is going to come and he's going to take it and he's going to eat. Rabbi Yosef says, no, it doesn't help. Right? Why? The Gemara is going to explain exactly why it doesn't help. Says the Gemara. Says the Gemara. Yochanan says Rabbi Yochanan, my tamad Rabbi Yosef. What's the reasoning of Rabbi Yosef that he says that it's a sur to give the madir through hefker? Why did Rabbi Yosef say that even through hefker it's going to be a sur? Because Savari holds hefker is like a matana. Ma matana de atya min reshut noten reshut mekabel. Just like when it's a matana is always a transfer of acquisition, but it's going from me to you. It has to go from the person that's giving the present to the person receiving the present. So it's going from one to another. So to hefker, which means that it doesn't go out of my possession until it goes into your possession. So according to him, he comes out that it says that it's still a zechiyah from the balim, which means like this. We understood beforehand, how does hefker work? I put this in the street. Who owns it? Nobody. And now somebody comes, they pick it up, now it's theirs. No. Rabbi Yosef says, who owns this? Until somebody doesn't take it, I own it. When somebody comes and they pick it up, now they own it. So the fact that it comes out that now they own it, says Rabbi Yosef, that's why it's not going to work. Okay, that's what he comes and he says. Okay, so he says, Mati, Rabbi Abba comes. Right? Yeah, he comes and he says, Rabbi Abba comes and he asks the following question. Vehala notel veochel. So another one he could come and he could take and he could eat. Rabbi Yosef says it's asur. Amar Rabbi Yosef says, Rabbi Yosef, Ematai, when do I say that it's going to be asur? Bizman shenidro kodem lefkero. Only if he made the neder before he made it efker. Okay, but Mem Gimel Amubet 43b. Avalima ya efkero kodem nidro. But if he made it hefker before he made the neder, harez mutar, it's going to be permitted. The amarta, and if you're going to tell me adaati lishut zoche, if you're going to tell me now that until it comes to the reshut of the zoche, mani nidro kodem lefkero, mani efkero kodem nidro. What do I care the order? Meaning, what we're asking now in Rabbi Yosef is, one second, you had a svara. The logic was that it always has to go from my possession to your possession, even though I made it efker. The question though is that what's the difference then whether I made it efker before or after the neder? At the end of the day, until you don't pick it up, it's still my possession, even if I made it efker beforehand. So answers the Gemara. He asked the question, he answered it. When you make a neder, you never had in mind that which you made efker. Which means this: if I come and I get upset at you, yeah, and I come and I make yeah, I come and he comes and he makes a neder on him. He doesn't have in mind all the hefker things. You understand? So therefore, that's why it's so important. So Mati Rava comes and he asks the following question: what happens if you have a shchiv mera? We're talking about the third party, yeah. So John Doe is a shchiv mera. That means he's on his deathbed. Yeah, miksatan larishon vekulan lasheni. So what happens? He comes and he's giving out presents, and he comes and he says certain properties they go to this person. Yeah, and he gives it to him with a kinyan, and then he says vekulan lasheni, and then he says everything, right, goes to the second person. Now what happens? He became cured. Now he wants to come back. He wants to retract all the presents he gave out. He was on his deathbed, so he started giving all his presents, and all of a sudden he gets up. So what happens? The Rishon Kana, the first one, he's going to acquire, right, whatever he got, right? But this is like a matana bari that you cannot retract. Sheni, the second person that he said Kulan Sheni, lo kana, he didn't acquire it, right? Why? Because he says this is like matanat shchiv mera. Matanat shchiv mera is that if he gets up, he's allowed to return. That's the lachot matanat shchiv mera. The reason why is because why was he giving it away? Because he thought he was going to die. But if he doesn't die, so obviously he never wanted to give it away. So matanat shchiv mera is only considered a matana if he dies. If he doesn't die, he can retract all the presents that he gave out. Yeah, that's halacha. So he comes and he says, right? Why? Because here he said the kulan, all the properties. Okay? Rava comes and he says, right? Hainu ta'amad Rabbi Yosef, the reasoning of Rabbi Yosef is gezerah mishum matana bet choron. Is because Meikar Adin, Rabbi Yosef says that it's mutar, that hefker does go out of the reshut of the mafkir immediately, even before you were zocher. But they made a gezerah. What was the gezerah? Since everybody knows that you're not mafkiro, ela kadesh yizkebo hamudar na'ah, so it's not considered hefker gamur. So if you're going to permit it, you're going to come and you're going to say that even if you weren't making it hefker for everybody, right, it would be permitted, and that's prohibited. Just like the story of Bet Choron. What was Bet Choron? The Mishnah later on in Masechet Nedarim brings down. Imagine right now you come and you give your money as a present to somebody in order to give it to somebody else. Now, what did you do? You went and you did something completely different. Like, for example, we had the case beforehand. He's the third party. I give him the property in order to give to Ronei Michael. Yeah? So what happens? Ronei Michael is mudar hana'ah from me. I give it to David Perez to come and to give it to him. What does David Perez does? Keeps it for himself. Yeah, so what happens? So what happens now is that in such a case, it's not considered a matana, right? Why? Because the only reason why I give it to him was to give it to him. So it was an intermediary. So now he kept it for himself. So for what happens? So because of that, Rabbi Yosef comes and he says, we make a gezerah. If I'm going to come and I'm going to give it to somebody to give it to him, it's not really a good hefker. Because hefker should mean if I make it hefker, he could keep it for himself. The fact that I give it to him to give it, it's not a real, you understand? It's not a real thing. So therefore, the Yosef comes and he makes a gezerah. He makes a gezerah because of this case of Bet Choron. He made a gezerah. I don't allow these things. Why? Because there's too much monkey business going on. Keilu that, yeah, you made it hefker, you didn't make it hefker. You only made it hefker so he could benefit. It wasn't a real benefit. Right? Yeah. So therefore, Tanya, so therefore we come and we made. We learned in the Braita, Hamafkid et sadeu kol shlosha yamim yachol lachzor bo. The same halacha would apply if you come and you mafkid your field. After 3 days, within the 3 days of your hefker, you're allowed to come and you're allowed to retract. Mikam va'elach, after that, eno yachol lachzor bo. You're not allowed to come and you're not allowed to retract. Obviously, in the Gemara, we're going to come and explain, right, why yes, why not. But this is what the Gemara is saying until now.